Hey y'all, welcome in. So I wanted to give you an update on Chapter 35 benefits. So my daughter just received her benefits and I want to give you a lot of crucial information to get rid of any misinformation. I'm talking monthly payments, enrollment verification, withdrawal rules, and what could happen if you don't follow the rules. So here we go. So what are Chapter 35 benefits? Well, Chapter 35 benefits are education benefits for dependents of military veterans who died in service or who are 100% disabled. So like me and my husband, we are. So my daughter is able to receive these Chapter 35 benefits. And it comes with a monthly payment that she's eligible to receive. Now, this is separate from the Florida CSDDV that she receives that I talked about in a previous video. These are cash payments that she receives directly to herself to pay for things outside of tuition. And they can go towards whatever she needs. They can go towards food, books, whatever it is she needs to sustain her life while she's enrolled in college. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the monthly payment breakdown. So I talked about in a previous video that they were $1,536. Well, now it's increased to $1,574. So be mindful that payments will increase annually, depending on, what the government decides. So now it is also dependent upon how your student is enrolled. So the 1,574 is for full-time students. That decreases if your student is enrolled 3/4 at a time or less than half time. So be very mindful of that and ensure that your dependent knows that the amount of hours that they take can reduce or increase their benefit. Now, also with that, if it's a partial month, they will not receive the full amount. So like I said, from November 1st through November 30th, you get the full benefit amount. But if it's a partial month, you don't get that full benefit. It's prorated a little bit. So again, that's something to be mindful of. One of the things that we did not realize was that there is a monthly enrollment verification. Now, the school does have to verify enrollment, but your student also has to verify that they are enrolled monthly. If you do not verify that monthly enrollment, the benefit will stop. And we found out the hard way. So my daughter got her first payment and it was back pay for 2 months. And then I said, hey, what happened to the current month? And because she didn't confirm that she was still enrolled to school, the payment stopped. So if your dependent does not confirm monthly that they are enrolled, the VA will stop that payment and it will not continue. Now, once enrollment is verified again, then the payments will continue. Now, there's 3 ways that you can verify that your dependent is enrolled to school, and they need to do the verification. So the first way is they can go through va.gov the same way that they signed up. And they can just log into their account and verify enrollment from there. The second way is they can call that VA hotline, that 800 number that's provided to verify their enrollment on a monthly basis. The third way is texting. So you can opt in for texting to verify enrollment, and then your payments continue. Now let's talk a little bit about the eligibility timeline. So the eligibility timeline for benefits is between 36 and 45 months. So my daughter currently has 32 months remaining since she has already received those 2.5 months of payment that she's been approved for. Now I say 36 to 45, so depending upon when the military member died or left service, those dependents could receive up to 45 months. The standard now is the 36 months, again, while the dependent is enrolled in college. Stop enrollment, the payments stop. And then as your dependent continues to go to school, those benefits decrease the months that they still have left available. All right, so here's the big gotcha. So now there are withdrawal rules. Again, I want to save you thousands for this. If your dependent withdraws from a course, they may be in debt and have to pay that money back. Now, there are exceptions, but I want you to be mindful of that. Your dependent can't just enroll in the course, not take it, but there are certain situations where those extenuating circumstances where the VA will say, okay, you can continue enrollment, you may not be in debt, or you may have to pay it back. So let's talk about that one exception for that first time withdrawal exclusion. So you get one free pass for up to 6 credit hours, but you do have to provide proof of that extenuating circumstance. Here's a couple of the acceptable exclusions. One is prolonged illness. It could be the death of a family member is another exclusion. If your employer moves jobs and you can't continue to be enrolled, or if you have a financial hardship beyond your control. Now, those are some of the exclusions where you may not have to pay that money back, but you may have to as well so that you can continue your benefits. Now, what are some things that don't count? Not liking your professor, not attending class, and just dropping it just because. Those things don't count. Now, let me explain the overpayment situation. So, say for example that my daughter was enrolled in 3 credit hours and she had to withdraw from the course because of one of those exceptions. If the VA had already paid her monthly balance and she was eligible for the exception, then she wouldn't have to pay that money back. Now, say for example she had enrolled in 9 credit hours. Now, she wouldn't have to pay back those 6 credit hours, but she would have to pay back the money that she received for those additional 3 credit hours outside of the 6 credit hour exclusion, and she would have to pay that money back with interest. So be very mindful of the exceptions when it comes to enrollment and those extenuating circumstances. And just always have some money in your back pocket or your dependent in their back pocket bank account in the case that there are some exceptions that aren't accepted. Now let's talk about courses that don't count. Now, you don't want your dependent to take courses for just electives that don't go towards their degree as a means of just getting the money. That's gonna burn out all the money that they're receiving for these courses. They need to take courses that go towards their degree, because if they don't, again, by the time it's time for them to graduate, they won't have those credits needed, and all of those funds that they received will have been exhausted. You know, there's some people that will stay enrolled to school just to get the money. They want to get that degree so they can move on and use any other benefits that they have available. So be very mindful of that. Don't just burn through those credits because you're getting the money with no kind of like stipulations behind it. So let's talk about when you can't use the benefits. Now, you cannot use benefits if you are on active duty. Now, you may say, I'm a student, I'm a dependent, but yes, you can join the military as well. If you join the military, you are not eligible for Chapter 35 benefits. You also are not eligible to use the benefits when you are not actively enrolled in course. So during summer breaks, during winter breaks, anything like that, you are not eligible to receive the fund, that monthly amount that's available. You have to be actively enrolled to be eligible to receive the benefits. So what happens if you are denied Chapter 35 benefits? What you can do is submit a supplemental claim with new evidence to say why you are a dependent and why you are eligible for Chapter 35 benefits. If that's denied, you can request a higher level review. From there, if you were still denied, you can appeal your claim. And from there, they can say, okay, this is the final answer on whether or not you are or are not eligible for Chapter 35 benefits. The bottom line, y'all, is Chapter 35 benefits is amazing. First, one, because I don't have to send my dependent any more money. But also it's going to help them to take care of themselves while they're in college. They don't have to get a second job. They can focus on their studies. And sometimes you may have to pay out of pocket. So you no longer have to pay out of pocket because your dependent is taken care of. Now, I do want to note for you veterans that are receiving additional funds in your disability benefits, that will stop. So your dependent cannot receive Chapter 35 benefits, and you also receive income for that dependent that's going to college. So that will stop. The VA will get triggered. You won't have to pay that money back, but they will stop the additional funds that you are receiving for your dependent. Again, it's an amazing thing that the VA has done for our dependents to help them succeed while they are in college. and give them that peace of mind in knowing how they're going to pay for their education without having to use the GI Bill. That can always be used later. You don't need to use it now. Use the Chapter 35 first because there's a time limit. Then you can move into using the GI Bill for additional education. This helped you understand Chapter 35 benefits. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe for more tips on your military benefits. I thank you for joining me, and until next time, I'm Annette Harris from Harris Financial Coaching.